Now, y'all remember Artemis, right? Artemis, the trans woman in Laramie, Wyoming, who had joined the sorority. And they was like, girl. They was like, honey. They had kicked her ass. Yeah, honey. Well, I don't know if you knew, but the sorority turned on the girls. The sorority as a whole turned on the girls, became a trans-inclusive sorority, and basically told the girls if they didn't want Artemis there, then they could kick rocks. Last I checked, Artemis was like, honey, I don't even want to be part of this function no more, baby. But now, some of the alumna from the sorority, from the Kappa Kappa Gammas, honey, some of the longtime alumna, you can see the sport milk. They have been complaining because they did not approve this. How do you create these standards that we have not approved? But I'm going to let them speak about their trials and tribulations, honey. This was Fox News, so you can imagine that it's going to be a mess, right?
That's a wonderful question because we've wondered the same thing. And what happened was we decided to speak out. And when the plaintiffs had to disclose their names in the lawsuit, and they were so brave to do that, being young women on a college campus, I thought if they can be that brave, so can I. So I sent out letters to hundreds of alumni associations explaining what was happening in Laramie, Wyoming. And I was told I couldn't do that.
I mean, Patsy, where do you sit in all this? I mean, why is this happening to women?
It's so interesting because I was sort of at their level on the foundation side, working for years as a volunteer. And I became a volunteer in 1970 and have volunteered for all of those years until about 2013, 2012.
Yeah.
And in that process, I met Kappas all over the nation. So for me to connect with the Kappas, I didn't have to break anybody's rules to do that. I had friends, Kappa friends all over the country. And I did raise a lot of money for the Kappa Foundation at one time.
Y'all heard what Kathy said, didn't you? Patsy said that she has been raising a lot of money. She done brought up the coin, didn't she? Didn't Patsy bring up that coin real quick, honey?
And then to have them come back, and we reached out, tried to have a conversation, no conversation, and kicked me out, I was surprised. I actually was quite surprised that they went that way.
I want to get more of your thoughts on that in just a second, but imagine a world where now we're having a battle over defining the word woman.
Right, that's at the heart of the center of the underlying lawsuit, which is that woman is now being defined by Kappa to be its opposite. And so these women, alongside 450 other Kappa alumni, filed a brief yesterday in the underlying case. And they explained that would be like hiring a painter and saying, will you please paint my house white? And the painter paints it black and says, well, I identify this paint as white. And we would never do that in any other circumstance.
Now, first of all, that's a fool-ass analogy, comparing paint to people. Humans are more complex. Our identities are more complex than shades of paint, honey. Child, she tried that, honey. She didn't succeed.
Circumstance. And we shouldn't do it with women because women deserve to have sororities. They deserve to have single-sex spaces. It has been incredibly beneficial for women throughout the years.
Well, how should this be handled, in your opinion, going forward when other sororities come up against this and have to deal with this themselves?
I think...
Now, this is where my question comes in. Because she did make a point. Now, we know that she BS'd with that paint analogy. But she did make a point of single-sex spaces. Women needing single-sex spaces. Cisgender women needing single-sex spaces. So my question to y'all. Do you think it's necessary for us in this society to have single-sex spaces? Do you think it's necessary for us to have spaces where only people with vaginas can reside? Do you think it's necessary for us to have spaces where only people with penises are welcome? Now, keep in mind, this will not exclude transgender people. There are transgender women who have vaginas. So when we start to police spaces based on anatomy, it could get tricky. But really, should cisgender women and cisgender men have their own spaces? That's my question to you. I'm honestly not 100% sure. I mean, just off the cuff, in the bottom of my heart, I feel like, yeah, it's necessary. I feel like if we as trans people have to have our own safe spaces, then of course cisgender people should have their own safe spaces. My real question is, what will that look like, though? Outside of this entire transphobic situation, should we have single sex spaces? What do y'all think, honey? Baby, let me know. Honey?